Everything has a story and a price, as the famous Pawn Stars say. That's especially true right now with gas, food, and just about everything else, as expensive as it is. But even with those higher prices, pawn shops are regaining business following the height of the pandemic.
Rick Harrison's confirmation that his son's life sentence is real has everyone in disbelief. For years, the Pawn Stars family seemed invincible, but beneath the public image, a devastating truth was silently unfolding. How did a young man who once seemed destined to carry on the family legacy end up with a life sentence? This isn't just about a family business. It's about a father struggling with unimaginable pain, betrayal, and loss. Rick's raw admission hits hard, uncovering the personal cost of a tragedy that no one expected. What led to this moment, and what gave Rick the strength to finally confront the painful truth? The rise of Pawn Stars. It was a small pawn shop tucked away in the bustling streets of Las Vegas. It's nothing fancy, just a modest business run by a man with big dreams. This was Rick Harrison's life before fame knocked on his door. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop wasn't just a place of business, it was a symbol of sheer grit, determination, and an unwavering belief in turning dreams into reality. Rick Harrison's journey began with a simple yet profound understanding of gold and silver. He wasn't born into wealth or privilege, nor did he have a degree from a prestigious university. What he had was a knack for spotting value in the things others might overlook. With that skill and an entrepreneurial spirit, he built the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop alongside his father Richard. But let's not sugarcoat it. The early days weren't glamorous. The shop struggled to keep its head above water, facing challenges that would have made many give up. Rick knew the world of pawning wasn't just about buying and selling, it was about building trust, knowing your craft, and understanding the people walking through your doors. It wasn't enough to know the basics of gold and silver. If he wanted the shop to thrive, he had to expand his expertise, learning everything from rare coins to vintage jewelry, historical memorabilia, and even obscure antiques. Rick threw himself into the grind, devouring books, attending auctions, and soaking up knowledge wherever he could find it. Slowly but surely, his expertise grew, and so did the reputation of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. But even then, success didn't come easily. The pawn business is unpredictable by nature, and every day presents new challenges. Rick had to think on his feet, balancing risk and reward with every deal. Then came the moment that changed everything. The old man, his son Corey, and Corey's childhood friend Austin Chumley Russell became the faces of the show. Each brought something unique to the table. Rick is a savvy leader with an encyclopedic knowledge of history and value. The old man, the no-nonsense veteran with decades of wisdom. Corey is eager to prove himself while carving his own path. And Chumley, the lovable wild card whose antics added a dash of unpredictability to every episode. When Pawn Stars premiered, it was an instant hit. Audiences were hooked by the unpredictability of what might walk through the doors. A Revolutionary War musket, a rare baseball card, a vintage jukebox, or even something bizarre like a shrunken head. But it wasn't just the items that kept people coming back. It was the dynamics between the cast. They weren't just co-workers or business partners. They were family, with all the love, banter, and occasional tension that comes with it. The show tapped into something universal. People love stories, and every item that entered the shop had one. Whether it was a Civil War artifact passed down through generations or a quirky invention from the mid-20th century, these items connected viewers to history in a way that felt personal and tangible. And Rick's passion for these stories was infectious. He didn't just see dollar signs in these items, he saw pieces of the past, each with its own significance and meaning. But Pawn Stars wasn't just about history or deals. It was about humanity. It showed the good, the bad, and the downright bizarre sides of running a pawn shop. Viewers got to see the negotiations, the excitement of uncovering a hidden gem, and yes, the occasional disappointment when something turned out to be a fake. Over time, Pawn Stars became more than just a TV show. It became a cultural phenomenon. Fans flocked to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, eager to meet the cast and see the place where it all began. The shop went from a struggling business to a must-see destination in Las Vegas, drawing tourists from around the globe. Through it all, Rick never lost sight of his roots. He remained the same determined, hardworking man who started with little more than a dream and a willingness to learn. And that's what made Pawn Stars so special. It wasn't just about the items or the deals, it was about the people. The Harrisons and Chumley became household names, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. They shared their triumphs and struggles, their laughter and frustrations, and viewers felt like they were part of the journey. But what happens when the spotlight grows too bright? Can fame and fortune truly coexist with harmony and trust? Or do they inevitably cast shadows on even the strongest of bonds? As the gold and silver pawn shop's story unfolded, not all that glittered was gold. Legal battles and allegations. Success often comes with its fair share of challenges, and for the Harrison family, the rise of the gold and silver pawn shop was no exception. Beneath the glitz of television fame and the excitement of historical treasures, storm clouds were brewing. What started as a small family business, built on trust and shared dreams, soon became the epicenter of bitter feuds, legal wrangling, and painful allegations. Joanne Harrison, the matriarch of the family, and Rick's mother, found herself at odds with her son in a very public and emotionally charged lawsuit. The crux of the matter? Ownership and finances of the shop. Joanne alleged that Rick pressured her into signing over her 51% interest in the business while she was in a vulnerable state, recovering from a coma. If true, it was a heartbreaking turn of events for a family that had once stood together, united in their pursuit of success. The allegations painted a picture of betrayal and manipulation. Joanne claimed that Rick took advantage of her fragile health to consolidate control over the business, a move that left her feeling blindsided and betrayed. For a mother to accuse her son of such actions wasn't just a legal dispute, it was a deeply personal fracture in their relationship. The public couldn't help but wonder what had gone so wrong within a family that had once seemed so close. But this was only the beginning. The situation grew even more complicated after the death of Richard Harrison, the family patriarch affectionately known as the Old Man. Richard was the backbone of the shop, a figure of wisdom and authority who commanded respect both on and off the screen. His passing was a significant loss, not just for the business, but for the family's stability. In the wake of his death, disputes over inheritance came to the forefront. Joanne accused Rick of failing to account for substantial assets, specifically $500,000 in business funds. The allegations raised questions about transparency and trust, turning what should have been a time of mourning into a bitter battle over money and control. For fans of Pawn Stars, it was shocking to see the family dynamic unravel so publicly. As the legal battles raged, Joanne sought a restraining order to prevent Rick from selling off family assets and withholding financial support. It was a desperate move, one that underscored the depth of the conflict. For Joanne, this wasn't just about money, it was about preserving her late husband's legacy and ensuring fairness in the business they had built together. The strain on the family was palpable, and the impact on the gold and silver pawn shop was undeniable. Legal fees mounted, tensions grew, and the shop's once thriving reputation began to take a hit. Customers who had admired the Harrisons for their close-knit bond now watched as that bond seemed to disintegrate before their eyes. And then, as if the family drama wasn't enough, the world was hit by the COVID pandemic. Like many businesses, the gold and silver pawn shop felt the financial sting of the global crisis. Revenue plummeted as tourism in Las Vegas came to a screeching halt. The shop, which had become a must-visit destination for fans of the show, suddenly found itself struggling to stay afloat. The pandemic brought a new layer of pressure to an already volatile situation. With legal battles draining resources and business revenues dropping significantly, the future of the gold and silver pawn shop seemed uncertain. Rick, ever the pragmatist, faced the daunting challenge of steering the business through uncharted territory. But the stress of balancing family disputes and financial survival was written all over his face. For viewers, the legal battles and financial struggles offered a stark reminder that even the most successful ventures can be fraught with challenges. The Harrisons were no longer just TV personalities. They were a family in crisis, grappling with the same issues that countless others face: loss, mistrust, and the complexities of managing relationships in business. Joanne's fight for justice was a testament to her resilience, but it also highlighted the deep fractures within the family. Her allegations, if true, show a picture of a son who had let ambition cloud his judgment, However, for Rick, the legal battles were likely seen as a painful and public airing of private grievances, a situation he may have wished to resolve behind closed doors. What the future holds for the Harrisons remains uncertain. The shop continues to operate as a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. But for those who have followed their journey, the family feuds and legal battles serve as a poignant reminder that behind every success story is a complex web of triumphs and trials. And for the Harrisons, the greatest challenge may not be uncovering the value of historical treasures, but finding a way to heal the fractures within their own family. But what happens when the struggles of fame go beyond family disputes? Can the pressure of the public eye uncover deeper secrets, or even tarnish the legacy of those we admire? Scandals and legal troubles. As if the family drama and legal battles weren't enough, the cast of Pawn Stars found themselves embroiled in controversies that only added fuel to the fire. For a show that thrived on the unpredictability of the items that walked through the shop's doors, the real surprises came from the off-screen lives of its beloved personalities. The charm and camaraderie that had made them household names started to crack under the weight of scandals and legal troubles, leaving fans questioning the people they thought they knew. Austin Lee Russell, better known as Chumlee, was often the comic relief of the show, with his easygoing nature and playful antics. But behind the laughs, Chumlee's personal life was spiraling out of control. His troubles first made headlines after an incident in Hollywood that escalated into a full-blown brawl. While fans were willing to brush it off as a one-time lapse in judgment, the situation took a darker turn in 2016. A police raid on Chumlee's home uncovered a disturbing reality: drugs and weapons hidden among the memorabilia and collectibles that he loved to flaunt. The discovery shocked fans who had come to see Chumlee as the lovable, if occasionally clueless, sidekick. The media frenzy that followed painted a picture of a man grappling with deeper issues than anyone had imagined. Eventually, Chumlee entered guilty pleas to charges stemming from the raid, a move that spared him jail time but left a permanent mark on his reputation. For Corey Harrison, Rick's son, and a central figure in the shop, controversy seemed to follow him wherever he went. Corey, once affectionately nicknamed Big Hoss, had his fair share of wild moments, many of which played out in the public eye. One particularly infamous incident involved public urination, an act that, while minor in the grand scheme of things, fueled headlines and online chatter. But it didn't stop there. Corey's party-loving lifestyle led to bar brawls and reckless behavior that culminated in the wrecking of an RV, sparking legal disputes that dragged the Harrison name further into the mud. For a man who had grown up in the shadow of his father and grandfather, the fame brought by Pawn Stars seemed to amplify his struggles rather than ease them. Yet Corey's story wasn't just one of recklessness. It was also one of transformation. Struggling with his weight and the pressures of fame, Corey embarked on a weight loss journey that made headlines for all the right reasons. Shedding the pounds wasn't just about physical health, it symbolized a fight to regain control of his life. But even as fans applauded his transformation, Corey candidly admitted that the road wasn't easy. The pressures of being in the spotlight, coupled with personal battles, weighed heavily on him. For many, Corey's journey was a reminder that fame doesn't shield anyone from life's struggles. It often magnifies them. And then there was Johnny Jimenez Jr., the shop's go-to toy expert and a fan favorite for his encyclopedic knowledge of vintage collectibles. Johnny's cheerful demeanor and expertise made him a valuable part of the Pawn Stars team, but his personal life took a dark turn when he faced allegations of domestic violence. The accusations sent shockwaves through the fan base, tarnishing Johnny's credibility and raising uncomfortable questions about his character. For Johnny, the allegations weren't just a legal issue, they were a personal and professional blow that threatened to undo years of hard work. The toy expert, who had delighted audiences with his passion for rare finds, now found himself under scrutiny, his every move dissected by a public hungry for answers. The controversy cast a shadow over his role on the show, leaving fans divided between those who stood by him and those who couldn't reconcile the allegations with the man they thought they knew. As these scandals unfolded, the once unbreakable camaraderie among the cast seemed to falter. The controversies didn't just affect the individuals involved, they rippled through the entire Pawn Stars universe. For Rick, who had spent years building the shop's reputation, These incidents were more than personal disappointments. They were threats to the legacy he had worked so hard to create. The scandals also forced fans to confront an uncomfortable truth. The people they idolized were, at the end of the day, human. Chumlee's legal troubles, Corey's reckless behavior, and Johnny's allegations served as stark reminders that fame doesn't come with immunity from mistakes or the consequences that follow. But perhaps what made these controversies so compelling was the fact that they were woven into the larger narrative of Pawn Stars. The show wasn't just about historical treasures and quirky items. It was about the people who brought those stories to life. And as messy and flawed as they were, the cast's off-screen struggles added a layer of complexity to the characters fans had come to love. For the Harrisons and their extended Pawn Stars family, the scandals were yet another challenge to overcome. Whether they would emerge stronger or further divided remained to be seen. But one thing was clear. The journey of Pawn Stars wasn't just a tale of success. It was a story of resilience, redemption, and the messy, complicated nature of being human. Could the empire built on history and nostalgia withstand the test of time? Or was it destined to crumble under the weight of its own success? As cracks widened and shadows deepened, the story of Pawn Stars began to take a darker turn, leaving fans to wonder, how did a cultural phenomenon lose its luster, and is there any hope for redemption? The decline of an empire. The once glittering empire of Pawn Stars now faces shadows that grow darker with every passing year. What began as a quirky, heartwarming story of a family business rising to fame has slowly unraveled under the weight of scandals, legal battles, and internal discord. The gold and silver pawn shop, once a symbol of determination and resilience, now struggles to distance itself from the very controversies that made its cast tabloid staples. Rick Harrison, the steadfast captain of this turbulent ship, finds himself fighting battles on multiple fronts. The legal issues, especially with his mother Joanne, have not only put his personal integrity under question, but have also cast a long shadow over the business itself. Accusations of pressuring Joanne during her most vulnerable moments, coupled with disputes over inheritance and missing assets, have eroded the public's trust in Rick and his leadership. It's hard to reconcile the savvy businessman who could haggle over a rare coin with the man embroiled in such bitter familial disputes. The strain of these battles is palpable, not just for Rick, but for the entire legacy of Pawn Stars. The legal wrangling and public airing of family grievances have turned the show's heartwarming narrative into a cautionary tale. Where viewers once saw a tightly knit family chasing the American dream, they now see a fractured dynasty torn apart by greed and mistrust. Adding to the storm are the controversies involving the cast and their personal lives. Each headline about Chumlee, Corey, or Johnny has chipped away at the credibility of the show. How can a series that prides itself on authenticity and expertise maintain its reputation when its stars are embroiled in scandals? The experts, once celebrated for their knowledge and passion, now face scrutiny as their personal actions cast doubt on their professional integrity. Even Rick's carefully curated image as the wise, no-nonsense patriarch has taken a hit. The pressures of balancing fame, family, and business seem to have taken a toll, exposing cracks that were once hidden behind the show's polished exterior. Fame, it seems, is a double-edged sword, one that cuts deeply when the spotlight turns harsh. The COVID pandemic only compounded these challenges, bringing the shop's financial struggles into sharp focus. With revenue plummeting and the business forced to adapt to a drastically different economic landscape, the cracks in Rick's empire have become harder to ignore. The pandemic, while an external force, laid bare the vulnerabilities within, highlighting just how much the shop and the show relied on their public image to thrive. As scandals piled up, so did the questions about Pawn Stars' future. Fans who once tuned in for the thrill of discovery and the charm of the Harrison family now find themselves wondering if the show has lost its way. The controversies have overshadowed the shop's core mission, turning what was once an endearing family business into a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of fame. But perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of this decline is the impact on the legacy Rick and his family worked so hard to build. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop was never just a business. It was a symbol of perseverance, a reminder that hard work and determination could turn even the humblest beginnings into something extraordinary. Yet as lawsuits, scandals, and internal strife continue to mount, that legacy feels increasingly fragile. Despite the setbacks, Rick has remained defiant. He continues to run the shop, navigating the complexities of modern business while trying to repair the fractures within his family. But the challenges are immense, and the question remains, can the empire Rick built withstand the weight of its own success? For viewers, the story of Pawn Stars has always been about more than just the items that crossed the shop's counter. It was about the people, the relationships, and the dreams that drove them forward. But as the years have worn on, those dreams have been tested in ways no one could have anticipated. The rise of Pawn Stars was a testament to the power of hard work and determination. Its decline serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of fame and the fragility of even the strongest bonds. In the end, Pawn Stars may be remembered as much for its controversies as for its successes. The show that brought history to life, that turned the mundane into the extraordinary, now faces an uncertain future. Yet amidst the turmoil, one thing remains clear. The legacy of the gold and silver pawn shop is a complex tapestry, woven with both triumphs and trials. As the final curtain begins to draw on the Pawn Stars saga, fans are left to reflect on what made the show so compelling in the first place. It wasn't just the rare coins or historical artifacts, it was the people, their stories, and their struggles. The journey from humble beginnings to worldwide fame was a remarkable one, but the challenges that followed serve as a poignant reminder of the cost of success. The tale of Pawn Stars is, at its heart, a deeply human story. It's about ambition, family, and the relentless pursuit of a dream. But it's also a story about the weight of that dream, about how the very things that lift us up can sometimes bring us down. For Rick, Corey, Chumley, and the rest of the Pawn Stars family, the legacy they leave behind will be a mix of both, the heights they reached and the struggles they endured. In the end, perhaps that's what makes their story so relatable. It's not perfect, it's not tidy, but it's real. And for all its flaws, it's a legacy that will endure. As we come to the end of this heartbreaking story, we can't help but wonder, how does a father face the reality of seeing his own son sentenced to life? Rick Harrison's confirmation of this devastating truth leaves us all shaken, reminding us that behind the fame, there's so much more to these lives than we ever see. It's hard to imagine what the Harrison family is going through right now. What do you think? Can they ever recover from something like this, or is this the end of their story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's talk about it.